My name is Robert Chen. I'm 81 years old. And I'm wearing the same watch I've worn every day for 53 years. It's a simple thing. Silver, round face. Leather strap I've replaced maybe 6 times now. The second hand still ticks the way it did when she first put it on my wrist in the parking lot of a Chinese restaurant in Brooklyn, 2 months before we were supposed to get married. I don't know why I'm telling you this now. Maybe because I woke up this morning and realized I've spent more of my life wearing this watch than I ever spent with her. And that feels like something I should say out loud, at least once. Before I forget how. Her name was Elena. We met in 1969. I was 28. She was 26. I worked in my father's import business. She was a translator at the UN, Russian and English. Her parents had come over in the 50s, and she still spoke with this slight accent that made every sentence sound like it mattered more than it probably did. I thought she was the smartest person I'd ever met. Still do. We started seeing each other in March. By June, I'd asked her to marry me. She said yes in a way that felt not hesitant, exactly, but careful. Like she was saying yes to the idea of me, not to me as I actually was. I didn't notice that then. The watch was her idea. We were sitting in her car after dinner one night, and she said she wanted to give me something before the wedding, something I could keep with me. I told her she didn't have to do that. She said she wanted to. So the next week she brought it, wrapped in brown paper. No card. She told me she'd saved for it. That she wanted me to have something that lasted. I put it on right there. And I remember she looked at my wrist for a long time, like she was checking to see if it fit right. Then she said, "It looks good on you." I said, "Thank you," and that was it. I didn't ask why she gave it to me early. I didn't ask if something was wrong. I just wore it. The wedding was supposed to be in October, small, just family. A reception at her cousin's house in Queens. But in August, she started pulling back. Not dramatically, just slowly. She'd cancel plans. Say she was tired. Stop calling as much. I thought she was stressed. I thought it was normal. I thought if I just stayed steady, she'd come back around. Then one afternoon in September, she came to my apartment. She didn't sit down. She stood by the door and said she couldn't marry me. I asked her why. She said, "Because you don't actually see me, Robert." I told her that wasn't true. She said, "You see the version of me that makes sense to you, but you don't see the part of me that's afraid, or angry, or unsure. You just wait for me to be easy again." I didn't know what to say to that, so I didn't say anything. She looked at me for a long time. Then she said, "I gave you that watch because I wanted you to remember that time doesn't wait. But I don't think you understood what I meant." And then she left. I didn't go after her. I told myself she needed space. I told myself she'd change her mind. I wore the watch every day, and I waited. She didn't call. I didn't call either. I don't know why. Maybe I thought reaching out would look desperate. Maybe I thought she'd come back on her own if I gave her enough time. Maybe I was just scared of hearing her say it again. That I didn't see her. A few weeks later, my mother asked me what happened. I told her Elena changed her mind. She asked if I fought for her. I said, she made her choice. My mother looked at me the way she used to when I was a kid and didn't finish my homework. Like I'd missed something obvious, but she didn't push. I kept working. Kept going to dinners with my family. Kept wearing the watch. People stopped asking about the wedding after a while, and I stopped thinking about it. Or at least I told myself I did. In 1973, I married a woman named Susan. She was kind, practical. We met through a friend of my cousin. She didn't ask about Elena. I didn't tell her. We had 2 daughters. We bought a house in New Jersey. I took over my father's business when he retired. It was a good life. Not loud. Not complicated, just steady. Susan noticed the watch once. We'd been married maybe 5 years. She asked where I got it. I said, "A gift." She said, "From who?" I said, "Someone I knew a long time ago." She didn't ask again. And I kept wearing it. I don't think Susan was unhappy. But I don't think she ever felt like I saw her either. Not the way she needed. She'd tell me things about her day, about the girls, about something she was worried about, and I'd listen. But I wouldn't ask questions. I wouldn't lean in. I'd just nod and wait for the moment to pass. She started talking to her sister more than her friends. By the time the girls were in high school, we were living in the same house but barely in the same conversation. She died in 2011. Kidney failure. It happened fast. At the funeral, my younger daughter asked me if I was okay. I said I was. She said, "You don't have to be." I didn't know what to say to that either. A year later, I was going through some of Susan's things, and I found a journal. I don't know why I opened it. I wasn't looking for anything, but I did. And on one of the pages, dated 1985, she'd written, "I don't think Robert knows how to love someone who isn't easy. I don't think he knows what to do when I'm sad or scared. So I've learned not to be those things around him." I closed the book. I sat there for a long time, and I realized she was right. I started thinking about Elena again after that. Not in a romantic way, just wondering if she ever thought about me, wondering what her life looked like, wondering if she'd been right all along. I looked her up online one afternoon. Found an obituary from 2004. She'd lived in California. Taught literature at a university. Never married. There was a photo. She looked older, but still her. Still serious. Still like someone who saw things other people didn't. I don't know why, but I started going back through my memory, trying to remember the things she used to say. The things I didn't understand. She used to get quiet sometimes when we were together. I'd ask her what was wrong. She'd say, "Nothing," and I'd believe her. Because it was easier than asking again. She told me once that her father used to ignore her mother when she cried, that he'd leave the room, or pretend he didn't notice, and that her mother learned to cry silently. At the time, I thought she was just telling me a story. Now I think she was telling me what she was afraid of. She asked me once what I was scared of. I said I didn't know. She said, "That's the problem, Robert. You don't let yourself know." I didn't understand what she meant. I thought being calm was the same thing as being strong. But it wasn't. It was just being absent. I think about the watch a lot now. About why she gave it to me early. I think she knew. I think she knew I wasn't going to fight for her. That I wasn't going to ask the hard questions. That I was going to let her leave quietly and tell myself it was her choice. And I think she gave me the watch so I'd have something to remember. Not her, but the moment I let slip away. I still wear it every day. People ask me sometimes why I don't get a new one. I tell them it still works, and it does. But that's not why I keep it. I keep it because it reminds me that I spent 53 years being the kind of man who waits, who nods, who doesn't ask the next question, and I can't get that time back. I'm 81 years old now. My daughters visit once a month. Sometimes less. They're kind. They call. But I don't think they know me. Not really. Because I never let them see the parts of me that weren't easy either. I don't know what happens when you spend your whole life being steady, when you confuse silence for strength, when you think love is just showing up and staying calm. But I know what you lose. You lose the people who needed you to be more than that. You lose the chance to be seen. And you lose the version of yourself that could have loved them the way they deserved. I look at this watch now and I think about all the seconds that have passed. All the moments I could have spoken up. Asked again. Leaned in. And I didn't. Not with Elena. Not with Susan. Not with my daughters. I just waited and waited. And now I'm here, 81 years old. Still wearing the same watch. Still ticking. I don't know why I'm telling you this. Maybe because I want someone to know. That I finally understand what she meant. That time doesn't wait, and neither should you. If you stayed with me through this, thank you. I don't know if it helped. But I'm glad I said it. Even if it's 50 years too late.